Alright pilots, Nick's back here with another beginner's guide, and we're moving on to the Su-27 and Su-33 flankers. Now the 27 is your standard air superiority flanker, and the 33 is the Navy variant, so it's got a little bit more robust gear. It's a little bulkier, can carry a little bit more of a load out, but it's also a little bit heavier, so it's not quite as maneuverable and fast, but they're pretty similar. Alright, let's jump into the cockpit and get some key bindings done. So this is the cockpit here, and let's bring up our controls. Now we're going to do startup, taxi, takeoff, and landing, just like we do with our all of our other beginner's guide videos. We're going to start with the basics, just to get you in the air, get you flying, get you to practice takeoffs and landings, and get you comfortable in the plane. So for starters, you can do the engine start and stop, your electrical power switch. You'll want your landing gear up, down, your flaps up and then up, down. You will want your nose wheel steering. You will want your wheel brakes. And then we'll go into our axes. And you've got your pitch and your roll on your stick. You'll want your throttle, and you'll want your rudder pedals. Now if you don't have a HOTAS and you're going off of mouse and keyboard, so instead of these HOTAS controls here, what you'll do is you'll go down here to flight controls, and you'll have aircraft bank left, right, pitch up and down, and then your rudders, and you'll just want to bind those to whatever keys you're using for all of those, and that'll do you the same way. And then of course you'll want your trimming up, down, left, right, and I'll tell you right now, just for comfort reasons, you'll want your trim to definitely be bound, because you do use a lot of trim when you're flying a flanker. You'll notice that it's very susceptible to speed and throttle adjustments, where you're going to be trimming forward on the stick quite a bit and back when you start slowing down, or else you'll be holding the stick a lot. You'll be putting a lot of pressure on the stick if you don't trim it. Alright, you also maybe want to do a drag chute. Now most of the time you don't need a drag chute, but if you're uncomfortable with aero braking or slowly using your brakes, then you'll want to get your drag chute. I recommend having the drag chute bound either way. In case you need it, you've got it. And we're not going to worry about any of the autopilots or anything like that. That's basically all we need for now. And let's go into startup here. Startup, it's a Flaming Cliffs 3 plane, so you don't got to worry about any crazy startups. You're not going to have to worry about aligning any INS, CDU, anything like that. So we just hit our electrical power and turn it on. And there you go. You see all the electrical activity and everything coming to life. And we'll bring our canopy down. It is a very loud plane, so. Alright, now we're just going to hold on our start on both engines. Those lights come on, we let off. And those are your lights right down here. So that's your start for your engines. These right here, this is your trim. So you know if all three of these lights are on, then your trim is neutralized. So if you start trimming the stick forward like that, you can see the whole stick moving forward, right? And now you can see that light is off, meaning you are not in neutral trim. You're trimmed forward. So now we can just hit back on the trim. Now the light is back on, so now we know we're back on neutral trim. Also, that white line you see on your stick painted, if you push your stick forward, you can see that white line lines up with the console there where there's that white line. You can see them right here lining up, and that's a quick reference to see where your stick's at, to see if you're neutral in the middle. If you start trimming to the left or the right, you can see it's going to be held off to the side. So that's just a quick reference. That's what that paint is there for. Alright. I also recommend going into controls and key binding something that can change the color of your HUD. I always go with the bright orange and gold here, so it's the most visible for me. And also there is a sun filter that you can turn on in the flankers in case the sun is glaring on your HUD and you can't see very well. That way you can turn your sun filter on, you can see pretty good. And it is a sunny day out here in Kola, so we're going to use the sun filter for now. So we're all started up now. Engines are all good, everything's normalized. we can go through our gauges so we can get familiar with that. You got your fuel gauge right here. You got your Ikrand, which is like your caution. You've got your RWR down here. It looks just like the one in the frog foot. Come over here, you got your engines, RPMs, your ascend descend gauge, your ADI, your HSI, your altitude, your AOA. That's just a clock. This is your flaps and landing gear and air brake. And then you've got your speed. And we don't have to worry about anything else over here for now. And we don't have to worry anything else over here for now. Those are your standard steam gauges, just like in every other plane you've ever been on. This is like your quick reference for your weapon selecting. So we don't have anything on the plane right now except for those ECM pods on the outers. So that's why those are lit up. So if we had missiles or bombs or anything attached to here, there'd be a yellow check mark lit up, so we know there's something there. And then you'd have a green check mark if that is the item that is selected. This, of course, is your data link, where you'll be getting a lot of radar information. These two lights right here are important. When those are on, when these light up, that means you're in blower. That means your afterburner is on. So that'll be important for a quick reference to see if you're afterburning at that given time or if you're not. Alright, so let's taxi over to the front of the airway. Put our foot on the brake. Give it a little bit of throttle here. We're going to hit our nose wheel steering button, and we're going to test the nose wheel steering. Give a couple of rudder kicks here to make sure the nose is moving, and it is. So here we go. Add a little bit more throttle. It doesn't take near as much throttle to move a flanker. If you come from the frogfoot guides and training, or you already know how to fly a frogfoot, you'll know that it takes a lot of throttle to move that big girl forward. Flanker doesn't take near as much. You just give it a little bit of throttle like this, and then you back it off and start coasting. So you're just jostling the throttle forward and back just to ease it forward. So we're going to take off in the air. Now we have a no loadout, so we're going to take off with no flaps. I'll go ahead and bring the flaps down so you can see now the lights right here are lighting up, and that shows us that the flaps are down or in transition, but it's just the same light. So if that green light's on, that means your flap's down. So we'll put them back up. The other key would be the air brake. Let's go ahead and extend that out. And if you look back here, you can see the air brake is up, and that's what that light is right there on the nose. So we will close that back down, and as soon as it's down all the way, that light will go off. These three green lights, of course, are your gear lights. So once we get up in the air and we retract the gear, this light that says gear down will go off, and these three lights will also deactivate. So those are your quick references to make sure your gear is either up or down. And I am using the English cockpit for this. The normal cockpit is all in Russian. I can't remember if you have to download the English or not. If you do, just look in the on the Eagle Dynamics user files. Type in that you're looking for an English cockpit for the Su-27, and you'll probably be able to find it with instructions. If not, it's already in the specials. If you go into your specials and options and go to the Su-27, there should be custom cockpit. Open up that menu so it drops down. Choose English. It'll just be helpful for quick reference. You don't have to have the English cockpit. I just like it. I already know what the stuff does, so I don't need to read it, but it is, I don't know, it's just a comfort thing, I guess. Alright, so we're just using our rudders. We're steering back onto the runway here. We're going to get lined up nice and straight. Kill the throttle, ease into the brakes a little bit, and we'll get upset. And completely stopped. We're ready to go. No flaps. Trim is all straight. Alright, so we are super light, so we do not need flaps, and we're not going to use afterburners. Now, with the Su-27, the gear is really light. This is a very fast and light jet, so it doesn't have big, heavy, bulky landing gear on this thing. So takeoffs and landings, you have to be gentle. You do not want to just hammer the burner off, because you're going to overspeed the gear and you're going to blow your tires trying to take off. So unless you have to, always just do a regular mil power takeoff. Now, when you get up to about 250 kilometers an hour, which on your HUD you can see on the top left, this is your airspeed. This is your HSI ROS, and this is going to be your radar altimeter. And it also will convert to your regular altitude once you're in the air. But it's all done by kilometers, so this is not going to be knots. So at about 250 to 260 kilometers an hour, you need to be generating lift. So you're going to start rotating at about 200, 220 kilometers an hour, and by 250 or 260 you need to be going airborne and getting your gear up, because the gear will break super easy when you're taking off. You will overspeed the gear if you're not paying attention. So when we start going, we're going to go to mil power. We're just going to use the rudders. We're going to deactivate nose wheel steering. That way we're just using our rudders. At about 100 kilometers an hour, the rudders are going to start being able to utilize to keep you straight in the runway. If you're starting to go off the runway a little bit right before you even get up to speed, use your nose wheel steering and then shut it back off when you get straight. And again, 250, we want to start getting off the runway. As soon as you've got all the wheels off the ground, you're going to hit your gear button to bring the gear up immediately. When you're landing, we'll get to the landing once we're in the air, so let's just take off and get that done. Also, just for information, so on your HSI right here, that arrow is, of course, your heading, so you can tell right now we're at about 111 or 112 on the 360 rows. And the kilometers an hour reads 80 because if you're going slower than 80, it just stops at 80. Also, this caret here in the middle means that's what your speed is. If you start gaining speed, it's going to go over here to the right. If you're losing speed, it's going to go to the left. So we'll go through that again in the air. And that way you have all the information you really need on your HUD. You don't need to utilize the steam gauges that much. You've got most of the gear right in front of you, or most of the information right in front of you. All right, so brakes on. We're going to go power. Let off the brake. All right, nose wheel steering is now off. Make sure you're not in blower. So I just went in blower. Now I backed off a little bit to make sure I'm not in blower. Now we're already rotating and we're up in the air and the gear's coming up. So you have to be real careful. Verify our gear is coming up. Check our lights. Gear light is unlit. All our stuff's green, or not green. It's all delit, so we know it's all good. And we are flying, and I am trimming the stick forward already. It's like I said, the nose likes to push up. If you're gaining speed in the flanker, the nose is going to want to push up. You have to be really careful to trim your aircraft so that you're not just yanking the stick forward. Okay, now we're coming back on the throttle quite a bit. We're already going 640 kilometers an hour, and we're going to start going left. So now you can see we're decelerating, so that caret is on the left side. If we start giving it some throttle, it's going to come back into the middle. And now it's going forward because we're accelerating. So that's just a quick reference so you know if you're either accelerating or decelerating. All right, we're just going to fly a circuit. And this is the Kola map. It's really pretty, especially here around the Norwegian fjords out here. As soon as we get lined out here, we'll bring up the map, take a look at it. It's real pretty. I recommend it. I think it's going to be a banger of a map. I haven't got to utilize it a whole ton yet, but it's very beautiful so far. There's lots of big lakes up here in the mountains and the fjords. And it's a very large map. All right, now when we're coming around, I'm not going to get into detail about an on-speed landing like normal. This is a beginner's guide. We're just going to teach you how to kind of flare, float, and land this plane. Just like when it's taking off, the gear is really brittle, so you have to be very careful. So what we're going to do is we're going to come around, and we're going to start decelerating as we're coming around. We're going to slow down, except we're not going to go slower than 300 kilometers an hour. That's going to be our sweet spot. And that's because when you start getting slower than 300, you have to be careful because you'll start sinking and you don't have as much control over elevation. So if you're coming in too low and you need to pull up a little bit, being at 300 gives you the ability to just come up a little bit without drastically changing anything. Because once we get to the threshold of the runway, we're basically going to go to idle And we're going to make sure we slowly get the nose up to a decent AOA, and we're just going to let the plane come down on the rear tires. We want it to come down and touch down somewhere between 240 and 270 kilometers an hour. That'll be safe for the gear. If you get slower than that, you're going to fall down into the runway. So here we go, we're completely idle. We're going to start turning back in. And we're not in a big hurry. We'll just let the plane slowly slow down as we're making our turn here. We don't got to worry about changing the throttle or anything. We have plenty of momentum. You also notice this caret on the right side. That's your quick reference to descending. So right now, we're descending 150, 160. So if we bring the nose up a little bit, you'll notice that caret's coming back up because we're no longer descending as fast. So that's another quick reference, so you don't have to look down at your ascension gauge, and you can just look right there on the HUD and know that you are coming down. Alright, we're still going 400, but we got plenty of time. Alright, 350, 340. And we're getting lined up with our runway here, and I'm going to start adding a little bit of throttle. We're going to keep our nose up a little bit to control our descension a little bit. Now we're just going to kind of cruise here with the nose up a little bit. We're not going too slow, we're not going too fast. We're just going to kind of park it here as we're going forward. Keeping an eye on that runway because we're not in a hurry. We don't want to try to speed up to the runway. Now we're going to start letting the throttle out. I'm going to go ahead and pull the flaps and kill the throttle again. And what we're going to do is, to maintain visual on the runway, I'm just going to drop the nose a little bit. Now we're at 350. I'm going to drop the gear. I am also going to extend the air brake. When we get to about 300, I'm going to start giving some throttle here so I don't get too slow. Also, dropping the nose a little bit is going to make you speed up a little bit as well. You notice I got to stay a little high because the ground, we're coming down the slope of a hill here. Alright, so now I'm going to start leveling out a little bit, slowing down our descent. Now I'm completely idle. I'm just letting it kind of float here and letting it come down just like that. There we go. Piece of cake, right? Go ahead and hit the chute if we want to slow down even quicker. And you do not want to mash the brakes. So if you're not comfortable with light brakes or pumping the brakes yet, use your chute. It'll when you reload and rearm, it will reload the chute as well. So don't worry about it losing the don't worry about using the chute. Use it if it makes you comfortable. All right, now we're going to taxi off the runway. We're going to bring our air brake in. We're going to put our flaps back up. Drop the filter. And that is your first takeoff and landing in a Su-27. Now, doing it in the Su-33 is the same thing. The only difference is you can take off a little bit faster, and you can land a little bit harder because it's a bigger aircraft. The gear is much thicker because it's the Navy Flanker, so it's made to take off and land on an aircraft carrier. So it's got way more robust landing gear. Whereas the gear in the Su-27, like I want to drive this point home, is really brittle. And if you're not ready for it and you're not used to it, and making sure you pull up and get off that runway as quick as possible, not too early, you don't want to try to yank it up off the ground and you're going a little too slow because then you're going to flop. But at 250, you should be generating lift, which means you're in the air at 260, 270. If you're still on the ground and you're doing like 290, 300, you're probably really close to exploding your gear. Which is why 300, you don't want to set your wheels down at 300 when you're coming in to land. I do the 300 at the threshold because you're going to decelerate very quickly with your gear out, your flaps down, possibly your air brake out, because it's easier to have the air brake out and push against it with your throttle than having trouble slowing down. That's why you use your air brake sometimes when you're landing. I use the air brake in the 27 because it is so brittle. And I do the 300 because it's comfortable, you maintain a lot of control, and when you get set up to flare and float and you're doing 300, it's going to decelerate very quickly. You're going to safely come down on the runway at about the right speed, unless you pull up too high. And you'll get the feel of it. Just get in your flanker, get some practice going like all the other ones. If you blow up your gear a few times, don't worry about it. It happens to the best of us. Just keep doing it. You'll get the hang of it. Reference this video as many times as you need to. And we're going to move on to the next video in here a little bit, and we're going to start working on some weapon deployment. We're going to do the air-to-air stuff first, because that's mainly what you're going to use this jet for. And sorry I haven't been around as much. I've been working on some other stuff, but more videos are ready to come, pilots. So take it easy, and thanks for hanging out. I hope you learned something.